Welcome to season 2 of Learning and Unlearning. While toxic masculinity is widely understood to be a social reality that affords men privileges and benefits, it's also true that that privilege sometimes comes with conditions and unreasonable expectations that men simply can't live up to, right? In this episode, we're going to unpack what is expected of men in the context of budding and established emotional relationships and romantic relationships, and how these expectations are managed while in the place of career, professional, or financial uncertainty. Our guest today is Itumeleng Merafe, established business leader now, but someone who's loved in transition.
That's important.
Yeah, loved in transition. I think we'd be hard pressed to find a dude who can't relate to the topic of today's discussion.
We literally just had bars on that right now.
Literally,
before we went on air.
It might be impossible, and I think just because expectations on manhood seem to be like uniform and unavoidable, but like that's not always how actual relationships work.
Yeah.
Because the world is like that. Itu, how are you doing, brother?
I'm very good, brother.
No, that is nice. Do you wanna give us like 30 seconds about what you do, who you are, and who you're a parent to?
Itumeleng
Whose husband you
Merafe.
are?
I am a husband, a father, a brother, a cousin, a friend, professionally a banker, personally an idealist, a dreamer, a believer, and a student of life and sort of my environment. I guess I see myself, you talk about being in transition, it's a constant thing of transition.
100%.
And so, yeah, man, I'm a curious human being who's always just thrusting himself forward and learning from my surroundings. But we'll get into it.
Okay. I'm gonna get straight into the questions because they're awesome in time. But how closely do you hold the view that it is the role of a man in a relationship to provide for his partner, and what informs whatever your take on that belief is?
I guess the first point is around when you say we talk provision like it's one thing.
Yeah.
So that's the first
This
thing
is
where
your bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I often get confused. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like provision. I assume people are talking about financial.
Sure.
I've
Yes.
heard people say "Monna kokotaka patla" because his hands are full. So
Yeah,
looks
of
at the
course.
door or whatever. Right. So there's this idea of
That's a very good thing.
These proverbs, the more you hear them, you're like, yeah.
well, what they do.
Do
you know what they do?
like
Yeah, do you know what they do? They show you why the world is where it is.
Yeah.
Because these proverbs are shared as universal truths.
Yeah.
And in them lies a lot of the toxicity that we're discussing. Right? So,
they're a great mirror to say that this is what's
language is a beautiful thing. So for me, do I believe provision is necessary for a man in a relationship? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure.
In the same way that there's provision by the woman. Absolutely.
Amen.
That's what it's about, right? So just this idea of provision is purely financial. I think that what it does is it allows us as men to opt out of other elements of a relationship that are probably more important. So I've seen it. I think guys chase the cash because it's a social construct,
Sure.
but also because if you're emotionally unavailable, if you're not present to your partner, if you're not a great parent, but you're buying stuff, you can ease your own bullshit with that. You know what I mean? You can walk out.
And I think we underestimate how easy that is.
Sure.
Like to provide is actually like in relation to everything.
If that's
that you just
all you're
said,
doing,
if that's
if it's
all
a
you're
natural
doing,
consequence of things that you
pretty
do,
easy,
then it's
dude.
pretty.
And let's be honest. In the context of South Africa, if you've been lucky enough to get a decent education, you've got a command of the language, you've got a degree. If you get a job and you can be relatively okay, you can do provision quite well. That provision, you can do it quite well. The thing that I'm always struck by is people talk about, in many places in the world, they talk a lot around educate a girl child and the impacts are broader.
Yes.
So I keep thinking about that concept. Like, why? What is that about? What is it about educating a girl child that shifts communities, whereas educating us I don't
Just
know,
keeps things the same.
what
it
happens?
would
You know,
seem.
what's the
Yeah.
difference?
Yeah.
And it's this idea that women, I think about provision slightly broadly, because I think often when she's earning and doing better, that's not used as a thing of power. It's used as provision.
Yeah.
We call it provision. It's not. It's a power play.
Yeah.
Like we kind of, I make a bit more money so I can, like guys talk about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can make enough money to get away with stuff is where people are when you talk provision. So that's where it's problematic. But my view of it and how a lot of my views are informed is I've been incredibly blessed by the father that raised me and the grandfather that raised me. Were very, very open men and very in tune with who and what they were.
I mean, that's generations.
Yeah, man. So
Sure.
I was incredibly blessed on that front. In
Yeah.
that, you know, and many people who know my father, I'd say to a large majority of my friends who have children now use my father as a sounding board.
Sure.
And
Or as a blueprint of sorts. Yeah.
man, my grandfather was incredible. So
We spoke
I've been
about him in
lucky.
episode 1.
Yeah, for an hour.
So I've been really lucky on that front, and I haven't taken those lessons for granted. And then I said it. I think I'm a student and I'm curious about stuff. So some of the things that make us successful as people in our professional lives is that we challenge the status quo. We do all of those things. We stop doing that societally for some reason. So professionally, we understand that moving forward requires breaking old things.
Right.
Yeah.
But in society, we almost have this notion that moving forward, like we don't want to break old things in society.
Yeah.
And again, it's probably because it works for us.
Yeah, it's where you're
The
comfortable.
problem with that is this provision thing works for you until it doesn't.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I've been in business long enough to see.
Did that
see
hit
it
like
come-
like
I've seen it come full circle.
Yeah.
So I've worked long enough to see guys provide, right, and be in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And then
And
lose
be
it.
the leader of the household
Yeah,
in that sense.
be
Like,
the leader
earn it in that
because
way.
of.
Because of, yeah.
And then I've seen it when the cash dries up or things go wrong or the business blows up or whatever.
Jeez.
And then I've seen people scramble to figure out who and what they are.
Yeah.
And then become violent, become whatever it is, become all these other things. Yeah.
Dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And so this idea of provision and it's the easy way out, it is until it isn't.
Yeah.
And then when it's not, it's real, bruh.
Yeah.
Shem, I've seen it blow up badly.
Yeah.
hectic?
I think like not having
Sure.
a hold on who you are, like in general, is
Oh,
a
man.
really, really big problem.
Oh man.
You know, because like when it hits the fan, it really, really does. And I think, you know, from my perspective, like being with Busi, so my wife as well, like Tina, we've always held the view that, you know, provision is just a fundamental principle. And the people that are involved in this house must provide for it, must make sure that it's a principle that's fulfilled. That's it.
Got you.
So it means if I'm broke, we are probably broke.
Yeah.
If you are broke, we are probably broke. If you're balling, we're balling. If I'm
Yeah.
balling, we're balling.
Yeah.
Like the house is balling.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the responsibility of the house at large. That's what we're doing, contributing towards the house. And I think what that does is that it's so humbling because on your way to your eventual success as a partnership, you know, both of you can look back on where you both come from a character and from a means, not even from a means point of view, hardly, like just from a character point of view. Dude, this is how we were and this is what I was when I was at this level. You know what I mean? And that's so important.
But I think what you must do as you think about that is be clear how you define provision as a partnership.
Yes.
And be broader than finance. Like,
Yes.
so I got 2 kids now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I swear to you, I promise you now, the easy part is buying the nappies. That's the
Yeah.
easy part. You know, before we had our daughter,
It's thoughtless even. Like it's
Yeah.
just
bruh, I spend more on whiskey. Do you know what I'm saying? let's
I can
just
attest
keep it
to
on
that.
honest, like whatever. But before when Tizzy, my wife, was pregnant with our first child, my little girl, someone said to me, you know, you get to a point and in your professional life where you can afford what a child requires those first few
Yeah.
years. Actually, a lot of what you get for the child is about you. Not
Yeah.
there. You're like, we buy your toddler Air Force Ones. It's got nothing to do with your toddler.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn.
Someone said to me, peep this, right? And this for me probably hit me the hardest just before Didi was born was prisoners, right? In many prisons in South Africa get like your hardened prisoners will get an hour of outside time a day. Okay, so an hour outside the cells, that's what they'll get. And someone said to me, most kids, their relationship with their fathers is like that outside time where they get to see them less than an hour a day. And so prisoners get an hour of visitations from people in the outside world. Don't be that dad.
Yeah.
Seeing your child is like that hour of visitation. Like, so kids aren't, for me, it hasn't been the financial, it's like time rich that you need to figure out. So again, provision for me is time. Provision is presence. Yeah.
But the time thing is where the scarcity is on your part.
Massively,
right? Yeah.
massively. I'm very time poor. Yeah. But then it's around, cool, how important is this? And if you broaden provision, right, and you talk about this thing of if I'm broke, we're broke. There's been times that in my marriage, we were cool. Lights were on, cash was cool. But we were broke because we weren't making enough time for each other.
Oh, yeah.
We were broke in that moment. It's easy to go, no, we're sharp, but we're buying nice things, we're having nice dinners, so we're cool. And then you're like ships in the night. You know, you're passing each other every day in the crib. But we were broke then because we didn't have the time. We weren't connecting. I didn't know what anxiety was that week.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were broke. So that's why I'm saying be clear as a partnership what you're going to call provision.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because that'll help anchor you. So what I'll say is this, and I will say this for free because I have been this guy.
Were you going to otherwise bill us?
No, I'm saying, maybe. I'm saying like,
Let's be real, dog.
if you don't do that, if you're not clear on how you're going to define it, and you leave it loose, the default is money.
Yeah.
The day you make proper cash and you ball a little bit, you're gonna believe your own bullshit. Like Otto Basket himself, yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna be like, no, maribuile gore when we're rich I'm not. So like what I beg. Tsara.
Yeah.
And then Uploman Machita. And you're like, I'm talking about Kenya. Smoke, I'm feeling like I'm biting Louis, I'm biting and she's just like, no, we're actually broke right now.
Sure.
But not in Yogo, but we're broke.
So provision needs to flow from a broader conversation about needs.
Has to.
Is it needs?
It is needs. I'll give you a quick
interesting,
example. One of my mentors, very senior exec at sort of one of the listed entities, and he used to probably spend 2 to 3 weeks a month out the country traveling on business, and bought multi-million rand house.
Drop his name so we can get a sponsorship.
And he bought like bowling, bro, like sports cars, all of it.
Yeah.
And the line he used a lot with his family was, "Yeah, I'm doing this for us." Right? Cool.
Yeah.
Doing this for us.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there's so much virtue placed on
He
that.
bought a
statement.
GT3 for us.
I'm doing this for us, yo. Now, what happened is he got, and I've seen this with many guys.
Yeah.
Where you get the ultimatum where your partner says, all right, cool, and we appreciate you doing this for us. We appreciate it. Leave that job. Yeah, go be like a maths teacher. Get a job that gives you more time, but less money. Let's sell all the assets we have. Buy a much smaller house. Buy a much smaller car. Put the rest of the money in the bank so that we cool. And then because we actually want your time, not your money. Because I could be doing it for us.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah. That's not your sponsor. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But now there's a misalignment of need. Because what he's done is he's convinced himself provision was money, and as long as I'm doing that, she'll do the other. And she's like, nah, me and the kids want your time, we want your presence. So let's live a less wealthy financial life, but be richer in time and presence.
Which must be such a wild thing for a man to hear from his partner or his spouse, because we're constantly being told that what women want from you is your money, right?
Yeah.
So what women want from you is your ability to give them things and provide material stuff.
So if you don't-
and provide a life also.
If you don't contract up front, and so maybe there are some people like that. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. But all I'm saying is, in a partnership, let's be clear around what our needs are. What does provision mean to you? What does it mean to me? Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I know for a fact that my financial goals are greater than my wife's. I know that. My wife is a lot simpler in her needs than I am. So what we have to do is strike a balance, because there's elements of what I do for a living that take time out of the family, but I'm doing them for me. But I have to own that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to my wife, I'm trying to buy GT3 for us. No, I want it for me.
my GT.
I want it for me.
Yeah.
But what's the trade-off? But at least now me and her are on the same page and she understands it. Whereas I'm not like, I can shy, like, no, I'm trusting. It's for us. It's not.
That's
Relax.
our GT.
So for me, it's those things are important. And I think we underestimate how the definition of words can differ fundamentally even with the person you share your bed with.
Yeah.
If you don't take the time
If you don't
to
really
actually
properly define it.
them between the two of you.
Very good.
You don't assume those things. So that's sort of for me where I'm at with this thing, and it's a constant thing because as you get more and see more, things change.
Can I ask a question that might be off script? So, because a part of it is also like the pursuit of happiness for both people.
Yeah.
Right? What does it look like in a situation where both individuals who are in that relationship, in that marriage, see themselves as high power individuals, like especially in the career space?
Yeah.
Like I haven't really gotten there to that point in my own relationship, etc. But like you conceive that, we conceive that all the time, and I'm wondering, when you're in that space, when you're both basically on the fast lane career-wise,
how are you Jay-Z and Beyonce?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And there are kids involved. When Jay-Z and Beyonce, your kids are involved. Your kids are under 3 years old, etc.
Because that's what we do, that right? We go.
Yeah.
That's why also provision works for us, because if I take on the provision mantle, I get to be the high-powered exec, and you get to chill out. So I get to actualize.
So that's what I was thinking as well.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
What if like there's a balance in actualization, and how do you really make it balance?
I think that's what a lot of you guys are gonna have to figure out for the first time.
Yeah.
For the first time, because
women can actualize, or because
because society's shifted. I think that before women weren't even allowed to consider actualizing.
Yeah.
Society wasn't set up that way.
Actualization was marriage.
And having kids. It wasn't set up like that.
And now you have to structure your relationship for the benefit of two people and not one.
Correct. And then we'll have to think about this concept of, again, when I said sit down as a partnership and figure it out, what happens when you get to the point where we're both high potential individuals? What you're describing is a scenario where you're both high potential individuals where the stars align and you both achieve and you're achieving at the same time. Life doesn't always work that way. So what happens in a scenario where your wife gets an opportunity in Zambia? And you're hustling here. She gets an opportunity in Zambia and you've got a child and she's like, yo, stop what you're doing. Let's go to Zambia and try this thing out. When we get to Zambia, you're going to have to chill out though.
Because also what are you going to do in Zambia?
I'm going to push. I'm going to push. Yeah. Because I'm in my slipstream. So it's not just this idea of we're both doing. What happens when, for the family construct and how we define provision, her actualization trumps yours for that moment. I'm not saying it's always going to be that way.
It's a season.
But
it can happen for a season.
There you go. It's happening right now. Like, are we ready for that? Are we ready to say, for the family, it makes sense. Let's do this thing.
Hell yeah.
And I got you. I'm pretty rubbish. Or whatever your support is. Do that, right? And so I think that those are the things that.
Damn, this is the first time we're having conversations like that.
Yeah,
like as a generation.
We're gonna get thrust into that. Now the thing I worry about with those conversations is I just want young men to be honest with themselves first, i.e., that may sound like too much. I hope what people are able to do to their partners up front go, that sounds like too much. At least just put it out there. Don't fall into the trap of, I got you, and then you get to Zambia and now Ushadi Pia and you're depressed. You know what I mean? Like at least start off by going, yo, babe.
Informed by Twitter,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now it's the social pressure of support her.
I don't want to be that guy.
That's true. Like I'm happy to go. I really want to, but as I sit in my chair today, right now, that gives me a lot of anxiety.
Sure. I love the idea.
I think it takes away from how I've seen myself as a man, and I don't know how to do. I'd rather you put that on the table, Jets. Let's get comfortable with verbalize your anxieties to your partners. Let's just get okay with that as a minimum, as opposed to this. I think there's a wave out there that goes, you best be okay with it. Otherwise you ain't shit. And it's like, okay, call me an ain't shit nigga, but like akisha pokhona no. Like, let me own that. So I do think, and to answer your question a little bit more directly, I think that there will be a lot more of those instances where you are both doing that, right? And then it's around, and there's kids involved, so then it's around who's doing the heavy lifting on that front. Time provision, what are we doing? Are you outsourcing it? And again, there's nothing. Whatever. I'm not judging that at all.
Whatever works.
Are you hiring a lot of au pairs, nannies to do a lot of that. And are you both okay with that? Are you leaning on grandparents? What is it? But have the conversation. Don't. Yeah, all too often I see it where it becomes like acrimonious. Where dude is like, why isn't she slowing down? Like, he's not saying it to her. Like, I don't understand what is going on with her. Why are you doing this? So I think those are going to be the challenges of this generation.
And a lot of the time it's, why isn't she slowing down? Because I can't keep up.
But you know what's revolutionary about what you're saying? And it's actually so sad, because the revolutionary part about what you're saying really is have the guts to have the chat.
That's all I'm saying.
But also But also,
Yeah.
it requires like a degree of commitment to the. I'm not to explain it, but like I'm perpetually in a similar scenario because I'm dating an intern doctor who next year might not live in Johannesburg, right? And the year after that might not live. So it's always a situation where like we'll have conversations about 2 years from now, and it's come live with me in Neisner. The fuck does a LLB grad do in Neisner, right? Like, so it's like. I think my follow-up question is how do you create space for your partner to actualize while finding space to, I guess, do so yourself?
So a friend of mine asked me a question.
Like, where's the balance?
There's this thing a friend of mine and I say to each other every time because there's no simple answer to that. But the thing we always say to each other every time we find ourselves in a conversation that is that complex is, as a starting point, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Just as a starting point. Because I think sometimes we create massive trade-offs, and what we're doing in that is actually masking our own fears and anxieties more than anything.
And what are your fears and anxieties also?
So that's the thing, is that in a scenario like that, so you say to me, what does an LLB do in Neisner? Like I'm saying, you put that out there like it's an obvious statement. And I'm calling bullshit. You actually have no idea.
Yeah.
Because what does an LLB cat do in Neisner?
I guess you'll have the answer afterwards, right?
What does that do?
Yeah.
What you've done is you've created a trade-off. Like that in itself is an insurmountable hurdle.
Shit, I hope she doesn't hear this.
And I'm saying like, actually, what you're doing is you're saying I like Josie.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm saying.
So you know what I mean. I like it. It's my comfort. I know people here. I have a preconceived notion of what happens down there. And if you think Neisner's that bad, I'm saying, wow, interesting. And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but I'm creating an example. So I'm saying, if you think Neisner's that
it's easy for you to say for sure.
I'm not under the bus.
If you think this is gonna sound harsh, but I'm saying, if you think Neisner's that bad, it's what I find then interesting is you're like still saying to her, no, via Kabashap.
That's
So let's go back to provision. So in the context of provision in that scenario, I'm saying, wait, hold up. You're not sold on Neisner, but you're cool with your lady who I know you care about deeply going down there, Aliwan. Okay, wait.
So that's the thing. It's like I don't want that either. So
what I'm saying, so get the idea of finding yourself. And so my wife and I have this conversation all the time, even around when we got married. When we look at our younger siblings and people we know who are younger than us who want to get married in their 20s and whatever, often my wife and I go, man, hectic. Because when we got married, I was 30, she was 28, right? We still go, man, there was still a lot to figure out. Now, if you can figure yourselves out in the partnership and you have that sort of a partnership, incredible. For a lot of people, it's a bridge too far. It's a lot, finding yourself through that. So we've had the types of conversations in our marriage that ideally we should have had before. I think we're lucky that we had a deep friendship pre-getting married.
Nice.
So
it's a strong condition for
there's
marriage.
an absorption element to it. And that's been quite useful. But in the 8 years of marriage, there's been a lot of things where we like have the conversation and we like, yeah, I should have asked you that before we got married, huh? You know what I mean, like,
because it's a deal breaker or because
it could be.
Okay.
Because it could be. Like, there's some real things where you're like, I just assumed.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, like you get married and you assume you define provision the same way.
Yeah.
Now what happens when you find out post to her mind? Yeah, it's just like money. Like even when you have kids, I was someone papa, but they're not some I'm saying we don't have those. Often you actually don't think about let's define provision when you're dating someone.
Yeah.
And like, what is your understanding?
Because her worldview is this, or her conception of provision must be this.
Because we speak English the same way, we like the same literature, we enjoy the same movies.
Those pop culture commonalities don't matter in the end. Yeah,
and those pop
it's not like that.
Yeah. And the point you make around those pop culture commonalities is often they're a societal construct that we all feel the need to buy into.
Yeah,
and then things get real.
Yes.
I know people who've been married less than a year because post that it was like, no, I know we were cool and we were all going out together, but now you're my wife, so like it's and it's like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
So, watch the movie Jerry Maguire with Tom Cruise and Renee Zellweger. It's all of this, literally. Yeah. It's
by saying we need not continue.
Yeah, go watch the movie.
Stop now, watch the movie. But it's literally that. It's like this sports agent guy quits his job at a big company, stands up, makes a scene, and then Renee Zellweger's character is like, I'm going to join you. And he's like, what? You believe in me? Right? Didn't know each other before. But then his whole thing is about, I need to be the best agent to provide for you. And then they get married without really discussing fundamental things. Like, what does provision look like? What does success look like? She came in with the kid. These are real life complications. And then it's just this awful thing where the guy just wants to leave because he's like, I don't know, she's boring for one. And she's like, yeah, he's not providing time and all the things that I need. So it's the whole movie is based on conversations we should have had before we did this thing.
I think it's also like, it's definitely a symptom of patriarchy as well.
Yeah.
Because the conversation isn't had because we think our conclusion
Sure.
Our view is the right one.
Our view is the right one. So as you were saying, like we were going out so well, we were chatting, you were this high-flying executive as well, blah, blah. Now that we're married, saladli.
Of course, you exist to tend to my needs. What were you? You thought?
What did you think?
What did you?
And also, there's conversations, and then as you grow in a relationship, the conversations evolve, right? And they don't stop. I find what is quite tough. So having the conversations initially is one thing. Revisiting conversations often is hard. Yeah. Because again, and this is where complexity comes in. So we go, this is how we define this thing. 5 years time, that might change. Now people do this thing where they look at their partners and go, you changed. Like it's a bad thing. like growth implied no change.
I hope so.
So I'm saying like, every now and again, pause and reflect and revisit those definitions because they change. And if they change, that's cool. Like it's like, how do you work with it? So I just think that's for me at a core. Is to put that on the table. I think the reason those conversations matter to me as well is because I know for a fact that as men, we have a flow of benefits from patriarchy, right? We have a massive flow of benefits, but we also have a flow of expectation and obligation. And what we keep doing is wanting to keep the benefits, but want to sidestep the obligations. And so we do this thing.
Sounds nice, right?
I'm saying, we keep doing this thing. Like when the obligation hits, you're like, no, but I agree
with you about equality. Yes, equality.
Right? But at the same time,
I think I said that just yesterday.
At the same time, you're the one who gets invited to the golf day because of out.
Wow.
Sure.
And you chilled on that, so because of and the obligation piece of it, I think will drive depression, anxiety, suicide. I think it'll drive a lot of the it'll drive a lot of the things I think we see that are negative.
I think in the entirety of this exercise, we realize that those things all come from the weight of the obligations that flow from it. So has your like broad defining of provision always been that broad, or has it, how have you dealt with times where you were in a relationship but you couldn't assert financial dominance?
So no, it hasn't always been that way. It's been growth over time. Because
I was gonna say it's one of those things where it requires like considered conversations like this in order to catalyze that growth, right? Because everything in the world is going to tell you that that's how it is. But
so basically, like, what happens while you're in it?
Exactly.
Because it'll impact your self-image, self-worth, value, all of those things, right? It'll even impact. Guys are simple things. Like, it'll even impact the women you believe you can step up to.
Right.
Like, I'm saying, like, that was a thing. It was like, ish.
Hey, but-
You know, like, it was a thing, and now you've decided for her that that's what she's about or whatever. So I'm saying it all of that plays out. So a lot of it is growth. It's conversations with friends. You know, we've spoken before about the people you hang around. You know, and this notion of you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. And so coming up, it's a group of friends that I've been close to where we've had these conversations. Like, man, is that really it? Like, you know, I remember when I was at Wits, there was a thing guys used to say, Jorge, just to show you where we were, like how people thought about this thing. Guys used to say, you lose money chasing women, but you'll never lose women chasing money. Because if you make the money, but anyway. That's how we viewed. So that's what provision was. It was purely that. But if you spend enough time with yourself, figuring yourself out, and going like, okay, so when I got a better job or did a lot better, I started thinking I'm worth more. I'm better. Like, that
I
should
have more
disturb
intrinsic
you.
value.
All of a sudden I'm more important to the world because I earn more. Like, if you start asking yourself some real questions about what is that? Where is this coming from? Why? You quickly start having to shift that. For me, one of the greatest shifts in my narrative around this and my understanding has been my partner. And you know, that like her going, what is it with you and wanting to keep doing this? You know, one of the stories I tell her that she didn't know at the time, one of like the first times we went out to dinner, like we were close to each other or whatever, and we're both working late. Like, there was BBM, I remember. Like, what's going on now?
Yes, boy.
And she's like, let's grab dinner. Like, it's like, we did, it's 7:30. Yeah. Oh, okay, let's go get some sushi. She's like, okay, sharp, whatever.
First mistake.
So, but you're fronting, I get it. Because let's get it. We get there, man. It's a beautiful vibe. Raja Khomonati, there's some wine. You know, it's a lovely evening. And when the bill comes, now again, there's no expectation on her part whatsoever. But this thing of provision, in my head, I have to pay for it. It's like anything else, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? Right? And I remember, even when she said, yo, man, let's split or whatever, in my head, I'm like, oh, she's so polite. Like, you know, I never take it seriously. I was like, oh, she's
so she just,
you know what I mean?
She's being sweet. She's hooking
And then
you
you
up.
look, and now you've done the no, I got it. And I opened it, and I was like, oh boy. So I tell her today, Jorge, when I gave dude my card, there was like a 50-50 chance Jorge was going to decline. You know what I mean?
There's
Like,
all the money left in your life.
I think after that I had like 33 rand. But I'm saying, like, at the moment I was like,
Where were you in the month? Do you remember?
2 days away, B.
That's a long time still.
And the crazy part is, I tell her the story now, and she looks at me like, what is wrong with you?
Why would you do that?
Even if you said I got it, at the point where you realize, why didn't you just say, yo, man, this is more than I thought? I can't do it. She's like, what is... Like, because she's saying, are you as a guy saying you would be comfortable to build a relationship with someone who in
Based
that
on
moment would have judged you negatively as we're both up and coming professionals? You
Yeah.
really, as a guy, are saying you thought I was the person who judged you and you
is
still
insulting.
pursued a relationship with me.
Wow.
What is wrong with you?
Your values are
like,
off.
what is wrong with you?
You
Are you
muted her
insane?
agency in that moment.
And not
first
only
of
did you
all.
mute, you
Yeah.
decided
But that's
what
what
she
you
was.
want for yourself?
Check this out. You decided what she was, and that thing that you decided it was is a negative thing.
Yeah, and it's
and you
whoa.
still pursued the relationship.
Yeah, that was
What is wrong with your own self-worth?
damn.
And I was like, yo, wow, okay. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think it's always difficult for I'm not gonna say us, I'm gonna say for me to like, I mean, like being out the game is dope, but like I think I'll hear people say, I heard somebody say that if the man doesn't pay, they don't consider it a date.
Yeah.
Or that, right? or that they only pay if like it hasn't gone well, kind of thing. So it's kind of like a signal that you fucking suck.
Yeah.
I don't like
So
this,
there's
and
sort
I'm
of
gonna pay
complicated
because
conditions.
I exactly because but also I think there might be an extent to which it's like I don't want to owe you anything after this because I don't like you and I want nothing to do with you. So I'm going to pay because I don't want any expectations to arise out of this.
But we've had a very like I would actually want to share this. We have to disclose. This is probably the first time.
Wait, let me
finding
disclose
out.
because I lied the lie.
You can tell the lie. I'm gonna tell the story, and then
Okay,
you
sure,
can tell.
sure.
Well, it wasn't even a lie, to be honest.
It was a lie.
No, it was
Absolutely
a
lie. We lied to you.
We're listening.
It's
It's gonna be so disappointing.
Just tell it.
okay. It's the story that wasn't full, but it wasn't a lie.
No,
Just
it
to
was
be.
absolutely a lie.
So yeah, at the
What are you
time it was so
Assume it was a
horrible.
lie.
I don't think it was, but anyway. So Dumi and I were obviously dating different people at the time, but we're all kind of like friends, whatever.
and they decided, let's do that.
Yeah, they
Right, the
decided
two
like
of them.
neither Dumi or I had a car, anything like that. And then they come and they pick us up. We're broke as hell, dude. So before they do that, I think we went to F&B firstly because I was like, what are my options? So I go to F&B, and that's when I found out F&B has this product called a savings pocket where they skim like R1 or R2 from every purchase that you make. So the guy's like, okay, there's a secret account that you have. I'm like,
Wait,
whoa.
you went to
We went to the
consult-
No, we were in the branch. So
I'm sorry. Wait, let's take this back. Wait.
yeah,
If it
You
wasn't
went
that, it was going to be a
consult in
personal.
the branch so that you could go to lunch.
you're right. For one lunch.
Second-
Yeah, that's
A single lunch.
And again, so it's exactly on the same point, right?
Yeah.
So, and you couldn't say to the people you're going to lunch with, Jorge, we're happy to come because we're hungry, but we
Yes.
can't afford to.
We couldn't, yeah.
yeah.
And both of them probably could have afforded the lunch. So we're at the bank, and this guy's like, yeah, so there's this thing called a savings pocket. You have about 220. And I'm like, word? Okay, yeah, let's boogie, right? Because I was
Your
really...
relationship manager.
Remember the temp... remember the temp loans, F&Bs?
Yes,
yeah, never
yes,
again.
yes,
So
it was
he's like, nah, you
Satan.
have about 250. So I'm like, what's the quickest way to withdraw that? Can I have it in like... I don't want electronic things because I know they might take 24 hours. Can I get the cash itself?
Yeah.
So I get the cash. It was quicker than I thought.
Game
Come on,
time,
know the
dog. It's
story.
game
Yeah.
time.
So so I get the cash in
Where
my
are you
account.
going to lunch?
I would.
Wait,
Yeah, that's
listen.
the worst
That's
part,
the fucking
right?
worst
So
part.
I get the cash. Everything's
Who are
good.
you people?
So I think they come and they pick us up once I have the 250. It wasn't even a fancy place. It was
And the
Rock-
thing is, it was fucking rock.
it was Rocco Mama's, right? So we get to Rocco Mama's, but again, Dumi and I still don't really perceive of how much Rocco Mama's cost. Because Rocco Mama's is 250 if it's just you and I.
Rocco Mamas is not that cheap.
It's not that cheap, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're a third year in varsity.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we look at the menu and we're like,
We look at the menu, we're like this, but also they're ordering like,
yeah.
there ain't no issues.
Yeah.
Because obviously we haven't been upfront about the
Yeah,
issues.
because they would have been
know?
sensitive, to be honest.
No, they would. I know.
Well,
I mean,
okay, I think my
perhaps on
person
your
would have been
side,
sensitive.
yeah.
Yeah. So then, we have the menu, and it's like we need reinforcements.
so now I've got two options, right? The options
I know
are
where this is going.
the options are that the last time I withdrew money at an ATM and offered me a personal loan for like 500 rand. So the options are go to an
I'm so
F&B
disappointed right now.
Yeah.
and get a personal loan
Yeah.
for some Rocco Mama's money.
Yeah.
Or call Itu, tell Itu I need some money for a work thing.
Yeah.
Itu sends me the money, and then the things happen. So I called you and I was like, listen, yo, man, I need a thing for stuff and things. And you're like, okay, how much? And I think you knew I was lying. I'm not sure. But you were like, okay, how much? And I'm like,
You've
I
never
don't
heard
know.
this story.
I
Pause.
think
You've never heard
perhaps-
this
I
story.
haven't heard this version of the story. What I knew,
Okay.
so it was, so you know he's lying because I have known Tumi his whole life. I know him. To me, if it's a serious thing, we have a serious chat. You know when he's rushing through the like,
Yeah.
nah, just I was just like,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was one of those. And it's like,
Okay,
I need,
sure.
I can't even remember. But
Yeah.
like, 'cause-
Oh, niggas are killing me.
and then you were like, all right, how much? You're so, and I'm like, I think, and then it came immediately.
Yeah.
And
We
then
paid for it.
And then we were happy. Then it was like,
Then
You guys were bosses in the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you made it happen.
then we could
But
make it
we had
happen.
to run to the ATM. There was something, I don't know.
Oh yeah, because it was an e-wallet.
Yeah.
So then I had to run to the ATM.
That's the worst part.
And
I'm
then-
going to the bar. I don't like this bar. Something stupid like that. Going to the mall. I know.
I don't like this bathroom.
No,
Let me
actually,
go to the other bathroom.
I think they did us a favor because they went to the shops quickly, so we were able to finagle and then
So you talk about dating and transition. Think like
yeah,
this is what it is.
that's what it is.
We're hustling for lunches.
Yeah, literally. That's why I had to
prove
share
our
this
worth,
story.
to
That's
prove our worth.
So I mean,
Exactly.
and the thing is, I thought like that's like a thing that like really dumb 21-year-olds do, right? Until I found out that it's not just a thing 21-year-olds do. It's what
dude.
niggas in the game do
Yeah.
all the time,
For the
and it's
rest
just
of their lives,
and it's
bro.
like
People do this forever.
Yeah,
People do
forever
this
and
forever.
ever and amen.
The
bro.
lunch shift, it may become
yeah.
like I said, a branded bag or
Yeah.
red bottoms or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's you're managing the school fees debit order and the red bottom. Like this is a real thing.
the school fees they would order
This
and
is
the
a real
red
thing.
bar.
Guys are like, it's like you know what I'm saying? Like I look at, working in banking, you interact with all sorts of people, and you look at how people treat money,
Sure.
what they use it for, and how they think about it.
Yeah.
And it'll blow your mind what people are willing to do. It'll absolutely blow your mind the things that people are. Like I say, all that's changed is the value of the thing.
Yeah.
The behavior is exactly the same, right? And the reason, if you think about, so let's play this thing forward. In that scenario,
Yeah.
so in my head, I'm going, cool, my kid cousin, whatever. Cool. So, hey, I know I'm enabling something there. Whatever. We'll get back to that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll say this to you, even with all the knowledge you have right now, your younger brother in 3 years' time hits you up and goes, yo,
Absolutely.
you're going to
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, in a
Yeah.
hot second.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
going to be like, oh, this was a teachable moment. Speak to the young lady and tell her that you're not good for life. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, as we have these conversations,
Yeah.
let's be plainly clear and honest with ourselves as well around what we're doing here. Because elements of it, I know what's happening. And a
Yeah.
part of me is still like, but like,
Yeah.
there's like this hard, like there's
Yeah.
a thing there, to shift from it. So how do you, tell me, you'll see it when your son is going to get old. And some of these things, there's some elements you're going to be like,
Yeah.
and so these things, and also, it's hard to kind of go, you can't have fun. I don't know. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer. There's a balance here, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be as innocent as that, and people grow up to be conscious, well-thinking, right?
Yeah.
Other people, you enable it like that, and that behavior perpetuates, and it becomes terrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a tricky thing. But in that moment, like if you guys look back at that moment, all I'm saying is, you literally relationship banked. You called your big brother, and all of that was to afford lunch. So that, and at the end of the day, you were probably high-fived each other, like, yeah, we did that.
Oh, man.
I think we
Yeah.
might have literally
When they went to
done
the
that.
shops, we were so...
we exhaled. We were like,
Yeah. we're like,
Dude, high five, bro.
yeah, we put that together.
Like that was us.
Yeah.
And in that moment, there's something about it that makes you think.
Damn, dude.
There's
that's
like
actually
a no, Rebana. Like there's an element.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we've done
no, Rebana
something.
Rafiki.
Like we've done something. Seriously. Like we hustled a lunch.
Yeah. It's true. It's and it's so scary because like I think, and I'm not, I think I might have like reached a breaking point with that. But like Dumi said, it's not something that just happens at 21. The stakes just keep changing all the time.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that was the beginning of 2017, right? So we were still very much varsity students who had nothing and relied on pocket money and people to help us out. And then like after April, May, money started getting good. And that went on for about 3 years. Like for 3 years, I was generally an independent adult. But there were many times when I'd fool myself, I think, when I had my own money into thinking, but I've learned how to control myself. But then, like I said, the stakes get higher. It goes from Rocco Mamas to Grill House.
Yeah, no, it changes.
Right?
Yeah.
And Grill House really does make a dent in how much of your rent you can afford that month. Rocco Mamas makes a dent in how much
it should be
data.
all of it, right?
Right, it should be right. So I mean, Rocco Mamas is how much data you can afford that week or that month or whatever. That's the trade-off. But then the stakes get higher and higher and higher and higher. You don't
And
own
you're
a
still
car.
making concessions in the same proportion.
In the same proportions. You don't own a car. You're okay with Ubering, but you'll drop stacks at Grill House or whatever the case may be. So it's scary that even when you tell me about people your age who haven't moved on from that, it's like, where's the breaking point?
Yeah.
And how do we catalyze it for as many men as possible to make sure that, like,
My man, it's that value thing. Because we place so much of our own self-worth and our ability to afford things.
Yeah.
The reason why nightclubs put starlights on bottles of champagne and they bring it to you so that people can see who's the dude that bought it. Right? And it feeds into this anxiety, insecurity.
economics.
That's what it is. It's this insecurity. There's a friend of mine in Lagos who said to me, like when you're balling and you want to show Machita Khore, I'm the man, you look around and you're like, oh, these guys are drinking Verve. And he orders Ace of Spades and he gets the Verve brought to them and they pour the Verve out into the ice bucket and they go, what you're drinking, we used to chill our drinks. That's how
my goodness,
that's, I'm saying this is where this behavior gets you. And I'm going,
it gets worse and worse. It
it's just,
spirals.
that's how
dark,
far
dude.
this thing can go.
Yeah, that's dark.
You know, you talk about Grill House. I've seen it where it's like, there's been things like one of them was Devon July for me is like the epitome of this thing because
Oh my goodness.
it's like, okay, get Devon July.
These social environments, these closed social capsules.
I must be in this marquee, drinking this thing, dressed by this person, driving this car, staying at Zimbabwe. Like there's artifacts that must be in place.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And when dudes are like, okay, this month David ordered to pamper, but like I've seen this, bruh.
oh my goodness.
And then
David
again,
it's a bump.
if we're tying our self-worth to this thing, it's just the dangers of it is hectic. And we're not spending enough time kind of going, actually, what am I about? Who am I outside of all of these things?
And who is she?
Yeah.
Right? Who is she? What does she want?
Yeah.
Does she want any of this?
Yeah.
You see, that's also another thing that that's. Can you like repeat that chat we had offline about like, you know, your investment portfolio versus your wardrobe portfolio?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I just see too many people where the things they own to signal wealth.
Yeah.
The things they own to signal are generally worth more than the actual wealth they have. So I've said to friends of mine, if you take the value of the things that you have in your wardrobe, the bags, the shoes, the watches, all of those things, combine that value and compare that to your net investment portfolio, what's worth more? Yeah. And I'm saying for me, like it's like small rules like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
those things count.
It's
really.
like there's small things in my head that I try to use as like litmus tests. You know, I bought you and a bunch of my siblings a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And it's got some basic things around money. Just some basic things, right? You know, we've spoken about delayed gratification and all of that. But for me, it's like, it's small things. Like I say to people is when you get your first job, coming out of varsity, your first job, né? So if I say to you, whatever your salary is, doesn't matter what it is, save 30%. And then people go, I'm fair to salary is really low, I can't afford to do that. I say, okay, but check this out. Let's assume you're at varsity, you're earning naught. Now you're earning 1,000 rand. If you save 30%, there's still 700 rand more than you had before.
Precisely.
Cool. So now going forward, every time that 1,000 rand increases, save 30% forever. Just do that. Because if you adjust your lifestyle to live off the 700, by the time you're earning 10 grand, I'm saying save 3. Now you're living on 7,000. It's still more than you ever had.
Yeah.
And as you go through life, it'll always be more than you ever had. But what you've done is save 30% every time. What the problem we often have is you start earning 1,000 rand and you live a 1,100 life. Do you know what I'm saying? And I get it. I understand it. It's not easy and you want to reward yourself and it's been toil and it's been this. I get that. But like...
It's my time.
Type thing, right? But I'm saying like, people have fought like bigger battles than that. Like there's been some real things out there. So I'm just 10%, whatever it is, but pick a number and you go, even if I save this number, I still have more money than I had before.
Wow.
Sure.
And then build that into your life going forward. In investments and in finance, people talk about compounded interest being the 8th wonder of the world. It'll blow your mind what that'll do if you start working at 23. What happens by the time you're 30, 35? If you've been saving that 20, what'll happen is people will be growing gradually and increasing debt and growing gradually. You're going to get to a point where you're going, cool, I've got sufficient for a decent deposit on something meaningful like a property. You know, like it'll change how you think about stuff. And I think there's small rules like that. These aren't like earth-shattering ideas.
Yeah,
Not at all.
that's the other
Small
thing, right?
rules
Yeah.
like that just requires just a little bit of discipline. Just a little. It's like nomits. You know, like there's some things in life, just do them. Like just drink lots of water. Like it's just keep doing it. And people go, I'm not saying it's gonna be, but nomits. You'll be grateful when your pancreas still grafts when you say whatever. I'm saying like
Your pancreas
just do
is
that.
gone, yeah.
It's fine. So I just think that these small things that if we start to and then create little rules for yourself. The reason you know that investment thing versus wardrobe, I do those things for myself just as litmus tests.
Yes.
Because hubris can take over and you can get a little bit excited. So it's just little things to test. And then, the earlier comment we said around know yourself and understand your partner. What is important, even before you try to understand her, him, whoever your partner is get yourself, understand your relationship with money and why it is that. Understand your anxiety around money and why it is that. Nothing prepares you for making money. It's unfortunately a lot of us, when you don't come from it, when you have a little bit of access to it, it's out deeper because you'll start believing you're more than what you really are.
Especially if you tie your value to
Right.
Yeah.
So what
and others will tell you that you're more than you really are.
and that's because they
pander.
they'll get benefit from that flow, right? So you'll be the guy in the club buying everyone drinks, and you'll go home feeling good about yourself, like you've done something. Like you've done something, and what you've done is bought alcohol. I don't.
What you've done is spend money you didn't really have.
So and
Spend
these things are
discovery
hard because of societal pressure is not a simple thing. These things are really, really hard, and you get them wrong. So what I used to try and do as well is like try and manage it. So what I mean by that is, so again, you have rules around, I will save X percentage. I'll just do that. And then I go, cool, whatever I blow, either way, at least I've saved that 20%. Because I went through my period of time where also like, Thursday to Sunday, we're in the club, right?
I'll get it.
It was a
But
phase,
the 20% was there. Like it was cool. And then you create space. And there's stuff that as you grow and as you get access to will open up to you that you didn't think about. So now you'll want to club in different parts of the world or see different parts of the world. And the lunch thing, you'll go away with your partner and you'll want to take them to a type of restaurant, and then those numbers are euros and you're like,
Hey.
So when I say this thing continues, it continues forever if you keep If you keep going, provision is me being able to pay for everything you ever want. Because now you're gonna get on the flight and some people are turning left and you keep going right and you're like, left. Now you're putting it on you. Now we gotta be able to do it. There's no stop, bro. This thing doesn't end. And nice things are nice, but just understand one another.
With I guess like women ascending into roles of like leadership, and being able to assert themselves in economies, being able to assert themselves in families, and I guess everywhere more broadly. Why do you think this dynamic around money persists? And what do you think it would take to change it? I think the conversation we've had a conversation about how important it is that I think what I'm taking from the conversation is that it's important for men to assert what's financially healthy for them and opt out when it's not, right? But what do you think? What has it taken in your journey to be able to get to that point where you can be like, okay, this isn't good for me? What your wife said to you, how do we make that real?
So I guess there's a few things, and I've been incredibly blessed in my journey in that I've seen where I was, people who were there with me, and people who are slightly older than me, and I've seen them blow up because they didn't deal with this. So I've seen guys who were at the top of their game, earning huge amounts, living that life, asserting themselves and feeling powerful even in their homes. And as soon as they hit shaky ground financially, that played out quite negatively in themselves. With a lot of them, the women in their lives try to help them through it, but you quickly realize that it's on you. And so I had like a front row seat to seeing people blow up. Jeez. Where the money ended is the first part. The second part is, I spoke earlier about my father and the person that he is. He's never a wealthy man, but he's always been a leader. He's always been looked up. And I always used to look at that and go, man, wealthy people go to him for it. Like he has gravitas, he's got all of that, and it was never financially driven. And in spending time with someone like that, you understand that what wealth is, what provision is, can be so many other things. And
even in the masculine scheme of things, right? Like you can still assume and embody all of those traits, but it doesn't have to be tied to money.
And then when you embrace that weight of provide kanyogo, like that weight of you must always have, just goes away. Like so I'm at a place now where I'm going, man, it's such a, you know, with my two kids, my son and my daughter, I'm like, if we're at a place now where I go to my wife and I go, yo, man, we need to rethink about school fees. I'm struggling to so. Like I don't have anxiety about that conversation, and that's just such a freeing place to be. Like it's just like you get rid of those shackles for yourself. So that's why I keep saying it's not just about understanding what she wants. I'm saying do it for yourself. Just let go of this
so that
thing.
you don't die.
So you don't kill yourself. Like it's such a freeing thing. Now do I still pursue finance and making money? I still do those things.
Because who's gonna buy a GT3 for us?
For us.
That lunch was the last time.
What are you talking about?
So for now, I'm like, I can pursue stuff and I can do it in a way I enjoy.
Yeah.
Like I'm enjoying the lane I'm in. Right? Like I heard a song yesterday that Sorry Not Sorry
Jiggers.
These guys say Jigger's verse was whack, but anyway.
And we love Jigger, but the verse.
That's cool.
I'm tripping.
You know, so am I. And he said, I like what I've become.
Yeah, dude.
I'm saying, like, be intentional about investing in who you're becoming, so you can like that person. I like the dude I'm becoming. You know, it's cool. And again, like I said, I'll pursue stuff and I like nice stuff, but I'll do it in a way that's good for me.
Yeah, straight.
And I'll do
okay, that answers my follow-up question was going to be: is it not easy to like the dude you're becoming?
But
when
I'll give you the example about it is when you see someone who works out. Really fit, six-pack, ripped, whatever, and the person says, I like my body, and people go, obviously you like your body, look at your body.
It didn't come from nowhere though.
Yeah.
Sure.
Precisely, he likes that body.
And so that's the problem. It's, you know, often I look at it with my toddler. When you look at toddlers falling asleep, it takes forever, then it happens immediately.
Yes.
There's a process, and then they just fall asleep.
Yeah.
And people see that just fall asleep part. They go, oh, obviously you like who you are, you have a nice house, you're in a happy, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
But I'm saying, there was work here. I'm 37 years old, dog. There was work here. And there's been work where there were times where I wasn't great even to myself in my own head. And that face your demons thing. So for me, I do it through literature. So I read quite a bit, and it helps me. I write a lot. But what I found to be quite useful, even in my behavior around money, is I write a lot, but I read what I wrote. So that's been probably my biggest growth. Is I would look at what I wrote a year ago, around where I was in my head space around masculinity. I read that, and it's like a conversation with myself.
Yeah, it's a history.
Correct, and it's a consultation with yourself.
Yes.
Because I know what I didn't like about where I was, and when those traits come back and I read what I wrote, it often is the thing that I need to shake me out of it.
Yeah.
You know, so because a lot of people, right? For some reason, people don't typically go back and read. What they've written about the headspace they were in. You know, so for me, even around money, that's been a big thing. Money's been a big anxiety for me growing up. Big anxiety. This provision thing was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So I was always just trying to chase it. I was like, let's get this bag, and when I got the bag, then I'll deal with spirituality. I'll deal with that. You know, but it's not. Things don't work that way. It's concurrent things, and so I think I'm in a space at the moment where I've kind of gone. I know what's good for me. Again, unfortunately. I'm at a place where also people go, easy for you to see right now. You know what I'm saying? Like people, they weren't
shut up.
In the gym. You were out here like with the
shooting in the gym.
Just the
You wasn't with me?
bro. I'm currently reading Mamba Mentality, right? And just there's something about work ethic.
Yes.
And
my word.
if you can put work ethic into yourself, just into yourself. You know, the story where Kobe talks about how when they'd be flying to different ball games or whatever, he'd be reading books on storytelling.
Whoa.
And his teammates were like, what are you doing? What's that about? And he just kept reading books. And to him, that was shooting in the gym.
Whoa.
And that's why he won
An Oscar.
He won an Oscar for that. But that was, he
Exactly.
said, for 11 years, he read books on storytelling.
Wow.
Yeah.
See the
11
Oscars.
years.
Yeah.
And we
And
think
we're
he's
shocked.
talented. We're like, oh
We're like, yeah,
wow,
but
he's
this
so
guy is so
blessed.
talented.
Wow, so
Have you seen how
talented.
often people that are high achievers are high achievers in many places?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the trait
absolutely.
is the ethic.
Yeah.
So I'm saying just take that trait into yourself.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys are very good at post-planning, they expect this from me. So I'm a high performance accountant, doctor, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think just put in the work into yourself as much as you try and impress your boss and
Yeah.
your friends. Just try and impress yourself. Like,
Yeah,
just,
dude.
dude, like put in that work.
Absolutely.
Like, just be clear, and it's constant, and it's always, and it's evolving. Be curious about yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I must say, guys, like the one thing has stood me in really good stead is I'm very curious about my triggers. I'm very curious about the things that bring me joy. I'm very curious
Yes.
about my habits.
Yeah.
I'm very curious, and that's it's like a constant journey of self-discovery. It's like an interesting process. There's this curiosity that you must keep within yourself. Because again, like I say, when I go out and I want to buy something really expensive, and I kind of, why am I doing? And there are times where I go, like, I know I'm doing this, like, this might not be the smartest financial decision,
Yeah.
but at the very least, I'm aware of it. I'm not
Yeah.
ignorant to my own fallibility. Like, I'm
Yeah.
aware of it in that moment.
Yeah.
At least be that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying get to a point where you're so frugal and you're not having fun in life. No, please, you know.
Yeah.
You'll die again.
I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, I do stuff. I do stuff that might not, people will tell you is not financially sound, but I'm doing it quite conscious of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So just be committed to yourself.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying about like writing and like just
I was
kind of
about to
creating a
say.
history, because remember when we were at the Nelson Mandela Foundation,
Yeah.
and so there was this really cool thing that we did with the NBPA, and they gave us kind of like a private tour, like of Mandela's, so the museum's archives. So we can do like an easy tour of everything, but like we did one of the archives, and they whipped out his diary.
Yeah.
Dude, for me that was so interesting because like every morning he recorded like his blood pressure, his, you know, how he's feeling about that morning, who owes him money.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, like then on Robben Island, like, yeah, kana this guy unkolota. Yeah, we took patala fanda. He writes it on the thing, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? And like, and again, you know, when you think Long Walk was like written like by 77 or something crazy like that, you know what I'm saying? Because of the ethic of waking up every day and just checking in with yourself, and just look at just the size of person he became in this world.
Yeah.
Because he was able to document himself, his own life, his own triggers, his own this, his own that. He said on the diary, like, this guy came to my office and he said this. I don't trust this guy. I don't like this guy.
Because that's not that process doesn't come from automatically knowing yourself. It's
Right.
truly knowing yourself, right?
It's true know yourself. So I found that really
It
incredible.
makes
Also-
it hard for anyone to have a hold over you.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
I'm clear on my triggers. It's really gonna be tough for you to piss me off.
Yeah.
I know my triggers. I see them a mile away. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna disinvest in that conversation and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Or I'm be like, I see what button you push. I know. I'm clear on that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder for people to be able to exert control over you.
Yes.
Because you are constantly investing in you.
Yeah.
Understanding you.
Yeah. Another thing with the writing thing, I mean, it's reminding me that like I need because I do journal, but as of the last couple of months, I haven't been doing it enough. But there was a time in 2017, someone bought me a journal as like a graduation present. And I actually took it seriously for quite a while. And at the time, I was super materialistic. My entire self-esteem was tied to the success of the business, how much money we were making, is my Instagram getting better, all of those things. There was a time when that was my life. That's what I was documenting.
All the real metrics.
Right, all of those metrics. And I still have that journal to this day. And then obviously that journal ran out. Ironically, it ran out at a time when I experienced huge transformation spiritually, morally, ethically in my own life in late 2019. That one finished. It's just the irony, like it finished then. And then there's there's a bigger one which from page 1 speaks about all the values that I have now, from my faith to finances, family, all of those things. So whenever I read those two different things, those two different journals, again, I'm aware of those triggers that I had at the time. And I realized that just my ability to I was also on Twitter. I left Twitter, right? I hate Twitter with all my heart, and I think all millennials should leave. But I left Twitter because it was a space where, I mean, some people can control it. I don't think I could. I needed to leave. I needed cold turkey, and I needed to get out of there. But like some of the things that I used to value when I was in that space, I would also journal. So things like, I got this reaction for a post that I put on today. I got this many retweets. People seem to like it when I say blah, 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 blah. And so that journal represents a very vicious and toxic cycle of enabling behavior that I put out there and then reflect on and reward myself for when I put it down.
But what's interesting is that, like, in the moment, you were placing a lot of virtue on those things.
Precisely.
So it wasn't toxic for you as you were writing.
Precisely. Even
like,
money, the people that I like.
Very interesting.
Rereading that.
Yeah.
With where you are today.
Yeah.
There's lessons in that.
Exactly.
Wow,
there was a time, I want to wrap it up quick, because there was a time though when I'd even write like, these are the people I need to start hanging out with because I'm at this level.
Gotcha.
And I read that, I'm like, what the hell?
That conclusion, that hinge point.
That hinge point was
very interesting.
So the reason writing is important.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think, goes through that. Most people don't write it. So what happens is you forget you were there. Okay?
Yeah.
So you don't have a reference point of who you were at that point in time.
Yeah.
Writing helps. It's like people talk about stories are passed down. When you don't have the material, it's hard to be anchored in that stuff. So for you, when you see yourself starting to do that again, if you don't like what that was, you have a reference point. For a lot of people, they go through certain behaviors that at the time felt fine. They've outgrown, but forget. And are easily slip back into them. Because the other thing about writing is, human beings can very easily experience consciousness loops where you make an argument where two things are unrelated, but because you're not writing it down and looking at it chronologically, you relate them in your head. It happens all the time. You must listen to people arguing, listen to people debating. Often we take two separate discussions and connect them, and it's just this gap.
As quick as possible.
When you write stuff down and you read it, you live and see it in your own thought process. You kind of go, how on earth did I go a retweet meant I was this? You know what I mean? Like in the moment, it adds up. Therefore. I wish I were like, what's a lie, man?
Exactly.
And again, it's not to judge yourself, it's not to anything, but it's to go, man, what was that? What was that? And then what will be a lot more interesting for you is to then go, what has replaced that? Because sometimes it's not the tweet anymore, but it's something else. So it is. You guys do this, and certain people watch it.
Because the value system's the same. It's just another thing.
It's another thing.
Exactly.
The Rokomamas thing, what is it today? So when you read these things, go back and go, man, what are my money habits? And what have I replaced that with? Because sometimes, you know what we do? It's I want to be seen to buy certain books, okay, go exclusives. And I know you get buy, but keep book, so it's okay. Now I've made myself feel good about the fact that I see keep book, so it makes it better. But the behavior is the same. It's not better.
It's the dopamine. Where's it coming
100%.
from?
And again, it's not to change, but it's to know. Just know thyself. Then it's a lot easier to operate in this world.
Damn,
I've got one last question. You're married, obviously, and you're also a father to two people. But
kids, saying people makes them sound like
two humans. But the process of having a child has very, very different implications for women, right? They have to literally they have to have a break in their professional trajectory that it's unquantifiable, right? And the consequence of that, with the reality of gender pay gaps and all of those things, means that for a period in time you're going to have your partner rely on you for more than just whatever else your partner relied on, but for financial and material things. What do you use? And how do you structure equity in your relationship? And how do you ensure that equity is always enforced?
Sure. Again, so it's one of those things that you contract up front, right? So again, my view of it,
But how do you know? Because you have a kid and you know.
So this is the thing. This is what happens. So now you're going, again, if you're present in your relationship, you go, okay, we want to have a child. What does that mean? Okay, it means I'm going to be out for 6 months. That could, so, that.
Sure.
And as that conversation flows, you start going, cool, how do we deal with that? Right? I said to you earlier that my thing was time. So now we're in this place where we're going, financially, I can do the heavy lifting. She's going to do the time heavy lifting. That's where we are, right? But then it's like, doesn't mean I'm disinvesting from the time element completely.
Exactly.
Right? I want to be present.
Yeah.
But let's talk value. Cool. So to my son at the moment is just over 2 months old. What does he need more right now? Does he need the money that daddy's making for whatever right now, or the amount of time my wife is spending with him? What is of greater value to him? And it's time, right? Wow. So to me, when we were there, the fact that I was working and buying groceries, all of that, I felt I had the easier, less valuable role.
Sure.
Because she was
Precisely.
giving him life through feeding him. She was
100%.
giving him life. I can't, think about this notion that before our children were born, within her, she had 2 sets of organs because she had the child in her and she was caring for 2 sets of organs. She had to keep hers going. So increase her supplements so that she doesn't lose too much calcium and have her teeth fall out. She had to think about that and make sure also that there's sufficient calcium for his bones to form.
Yeah.
She was doing that. I just had to go to work.
Yeah.
I'm saying, so people are like, hey, Anton's Spanish. It's like, you
Yeah.
just have to go for it. The other thing is this,
Yeah.
you were doing that work thing even prior.
Yeah.
Nothing's like,
Yeah.
you've just
You
continued.
haven't done a damn thing.
You haven't done shit. So for me, it's like that was the easy part, right? Again, though, I'm talking from where I am today. If I was at a place where I didn't have a job or we're struggling financially, it may have been different, and I don't know how things may have played out. So I'm not downplaying the pressures of provision financially. I'm not saying it's always easy, but I'm saying in the value chain of a life, if we are just going to ascribe greater value to the ability to reka pampers in raising children, then I think we're headed for a very dangerous place of society. So for me, I think the role that she played in allowing for the space for me to be at work and have the ability to thrust myself into my job and feel like and be okay with that was because I knew she was taking care of that. Not that I was disinvesting in it, but I'm saying she did the large majority up front. The hard part is also then setting it up in a way because she's a professional as well. A person that means herself.
Back to my earlier question.
So the hard part is also then for her to not feel like, because it's easy in that interaction for her to feel like I'm giving her money to do certain things. She's not overtly giving me anything. Other than the fact that she's raising her child. She's not actually like, I did transfer, or I was a transfer, like for someone like her, it might be difficult to like, or so how do you play that out? So up front, be clear. So if your wife your partner's gonna go, you know what, actually, when the baby's born, I'm gonna stop working for a prolonged period of time because I wanna be present. What you need to build in very quickly to go, okay, cool, okay, I'm gonna have a debit order that goes to you so that we don't, if the conversation's weird. Because for some people, it's hard to, hey, but this month my savings are running low. Do you mind giving me an additional 10 grand so I can 1, 2, 3, 4? Like, for some people, it's a tough thing, and I can understand why that's a tough thing. So we were very clear on, cool, what's the need, who does what? This is what's coming in every month, how we're splitting it, get it done, set it up,
agreement,
and then we move on.
It's a partnership, Come on.
But it had to be direct, it had to be clear, it had to be all of that. But it's again, you talked about dopamine earlier. Financial provision is one of the biggest hits.
Facts.
When you can do certain things.
Facts.
Your chest, you walk in your own house. Again, so you need to create things for yourself to bring yourself back to earth. And that's why
ground
for me,
you.
Value is important. I keep thinking about value to my children. What is of value to them? It's more than just the physical, right? But that's a thing.
Somewhere out there, there's a gent who's like, but if I don't buy the groceries, they're going to die.
And so both things are important.
Exactly.
So all of
everything matters.
Like, this is something I think C and I were having a conversation about this. Like, because I really like how you like framed it around value. So time being value, this being value, that being value. I was just saying to C, I think just the guys who had kids like really early, like me, as well. I was like, the trippy thing about having when your child is born, the first thing you have to learn is that if you want to be present, you have to earn their affection, the child's affection. Because from when the child is born, the child wants their mom. Because the child has been with their mom for 9 months. The child is getting their living sustenance from their mom. So you have to earn it. You're not automatically daddy, like even if you're a spitting image of the child. So you actually have to invest a lot in, you know what I mean? So I could imagine how difficult that was for you as well, like given the work pressure, but also just the principal impetus to want to be present for your child.
And then the way the world is set up is also, it feeds into these things. So, so you know, think about this, right? So one of the big things where I work is, at that time when my daughter was born, paternity leave had shifted from 5 days to 10 days.
Yeah.
10.
Hooray.
So big deal, right?
Let's go.
Okay, and that was progressive in the context of things in this country. But a very senior person that I worked with said to me, and and I have a lot of time for this man. But he said to me, but apparently, like, paternity leave is 10 days now. What are you going to do for 10 days? And I said, what do you mean?
That's terrible.
He said, he has 2 kids. He said, but when my little ones were born, like, I remember I was in a board meeting, I got a call, they said my missus had the baby, I rushed, I saw the oak, went to there was a little bar down the road from the hospital, we had a quick beer, and then I came back to Graft. I said, are you gonna like play video? He said, so he said to me, you're gonna go on a golf tour. He said, are you gonna go on a golf tour? I'm like, it's like, in that 10 days, what are you gonna do? But it's just changing nappies and breastfeeding, what are you gonna do? So I go,
and he's sincerely asking
he's not
from the bottom of his heart.
He's like confused. Yeah. And he's like, man, I had kids at the wrong time. I would have loved a free 10 days, right? So firstly, when my daughter was born,
free 10 days.
When my daughter was born, I took a month off. So I was just like, I don't know, man. It's the first kid. I don't know what it means.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be here.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
here.
needed.
Let's get it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And so after like a few months later, they said to me,
I saw the oak.
yeah, I saw the oak, had a beer, we carried on.
I would have had a beer with him, but you couldn't.
You know, and I said to him,
Tell you about that liver.
you know, your wife in that moment has birthed a child. Or however they do it, they have like a whole human.
Yeah.
The amount of support they need.
Yeah.
My word,
is
dude.
that's the first part.
insurmountable.
The amount, just the sheer amount of support she requires. What she's just gone through is
traumatic.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Then secondly, there's this little human that you must build a bond with.
Yeah.
And figure that out.
Yeah.
And the bond isn't like, hello, my boy.
Yeah.
And then
You
come back to,
know,
you know, like, hello, my. I don't know. And again, I don't know enough. I don't know what at an energy level, what gets transfixed in that first 2 months, the first few hours. I don't know what happens when my child is born and those first few days I'm enamored and I'm holding them all the time and I'm speaking over them my wishes and aspirations for. I don't know.
What the
that might do
significance
nothing.
of that.
Yeah.
Might do absolutely naught.
Yeah.
It might do everything.
But in the moment, for me, it was the entire universe.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was like, if the trade-off right now is a 4-week trade-off between being busy co-spanning and push for 4 weeks, where my wife is taking 6 months.
Jeez.
And women have taken 6 months and ascended to run companies and countries.
Yeah.
And I'm tripping on 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But I chose to have a child.
Right.
And on the 4 weeks, I'm like, ish, but okay, wait, the thing is, but when I meeting earlier, like, I'm just saying, like, in that time when I speak value, it also then, you know, we've spoken about schools. Culture of things matters to me. Where I work, the culture of the environment for me, I was like, this is of value to me. Had the reaction been, nah, fam. It would have. I'd been there for 12 years at the time. I would have questioned whether I want to stay there.
Sure.
Culture matters, and so value matters. You know, so I just think. Again, I don't know whether these things. You know, if all I needed to do was whenever my wife needed water, I was like, yeah, meat. If that's all that I did, that's cool. But like, it to me felt like we've just brought a human into the world.
Yeah.
It's new to both of us.
Yeah, let's figure this out, dude.
I don't know what's needed.
Let us figure it
All
out.
hands on deck.
Yeah, all hands on deck.
You know, and then in a month, someone might watch this and go, a month fell and you think you did it. Yeah, no, I accept that. All I'm saying is that we mustn't, this value, the time value up front is probably the most valuable thing I still believe a child needed.
Yeah.
Was presence and time more than
Absolutely.
I don't know, when these little humans are bigger, but the Xbox in
Yeah.
everything you're within, but up front, it was time and availability and like I say, energy matters to me. Like, to be fully present. And I'm yet to meet a business or a client who's like, oh, what? You're with your newborn and didn't answer my email. I'm yet to meet that guy. And again, if that guy comes through, it's fine. It's okay. There's nothing that important at all.
Sure.
Any final thoughts?
Ah, man. I learned so much, dude.
Yeah.
I just learned so much.
I'm not sure if I have any final thoughts. I'm just gonna take it in. I think I'm hoping, this is one of those episodes that Oaks just didn't go and grab coffee while this thing was playing. Every word counted. Every word counted. Especially because life is real, guys. And I think I'm just as I'm growing up, like it's all about things that matter now. Talk about friendships earlier today. I'm like, dude, like I've got too many problems to worry about things like that. You know what I mean? Talk about like the small and petty things, and I'm like, just navigating manhood. I need to navigate manhood in the real world, but also like considering my own desires, feelings, triggers, and all those kinds of things, and then I can be the best possible partner. You see what I'm saying? So, but
and present a better man generally.
Precisely, and raise a better son and have better reflections about what I say to Marokbula when I speak to him and all those kinds of things. So I learned a lot.
I think on my side, there's two things I really value. But mainly, season 2 for me has been like a cheat sheet because I'm neither a dad, nor married, nor dating at the moment. So it's like getting... I'm just a person, really. I'm just a smarto. That's, Rabaiki, that's who I am. But basically, it's been incredible because this chat has covered all of those phases of life. First and foremost, right? It's really great that you were vulnerable enough to go into the first date with, and
without the trigger warning, like, because we usually go, you have to be vulnerable when you come.
You just came out with like, here's what my first date looked like. Here's the fight that happened after that. So it's really valuable because I think men from different spectrums will firstly be able to relate to these episodes. So if you're still a bachelor, you're getting cheat sheets. But if you're a married dad, then you're able to reflect through this episode. So that was really, really valuable, I think. I just liked how it covered all the bases for men in general, and no one can feel like they can't relate to.
And the transition is endless.
And the transition. So mainly the because I think the original idea for us was like dating in transition between the age of like 23 and 29.
Between you being in varsity.
But what you covered was the transition never ends. And I don't think any of us ever thought about that because we've been fed this lie about at 30, you've got it all figured out. But it's at 37, second kid, there's still a lot to learn.
Figuring it out.
You're still the fact that you describe yourself as a curious person means we can't stop being curious either. Someone who's constantly learning. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. And I hope that to all the people watching out there, this was either a cheat sheet or an opportunity to contemplate and reflect.
I think the significant learning for me is the idea that I think as men in relationships with women, we're really wary to rather men who have taken the deliberate undertaking to unlearn certain things are sometimes wary to assert things that are good for us, right? And I think I've always conceived of asserting my needs as like, oh, I don't want to do that because my needs are met in this area and this area and this and all of these areas, right? But I think if it has to be, it's a critical component of becoming the man you've decided you want to become and asserting what's good for you. And I think I'm really glad that is a learning that we've been able to impart, a lesson we've been able to impart. And I think that just covers the application. We usually do an application segment at the end of every. But that's it, guys. thank you for Thabo Masilela for all of the. He's behind the camera. You can't see him, but we'd die without him. Also, big shout outs to Lou. We would suck without Lou. But anyway, this would be just a shocking mess if not for Lou. Guys, remember to listen to Learning and Unlearning wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Please remember to give us a 5-star rating. Only 5 stars. If you don't give us a 5-star rating, don't give us the rating. Otherwise, we will block you from listening to any Learning and Unlearning content. We absolutely will find you. And yeah, reach out to us via survey or in the podcast description and let us know your thoughts and what you think. Thank you.